Deion Sanders was talking with Skip Bayless on the Skip Bayless show about Shedeur and the thoughts on where they could end up or where he wants to end up when it comes to the NFL draft. Let's take a listen.
Shedeur has told me, he's talked to me intently about all the visits he's had with all the teams, so I know where his heart is. I know where he wants to go. If it's New York, it's New York. If it's Tennessee, if it's Cleveland, if it's still the Raiders, if it's New Orleans, if it's any of those teams that are seeking a quarterback, I'm happy with it, man, because I know what he's going to do to the organization. I know what he's going to do.
All right, so with that being said, the Cleveland Browns appear to be going Abdul Carter. The Giants appear to be going Travis Hunter. So if you had to guess right now or had to maybe place a wager, where are you taking Shedeur Sanders? You think the Raiders? Raiders at 6?
Yeah.
It was kind of surprising that Breer said, they're just going to go best player available, that he doesn't think that they're going to go quarterback at that spot. But I just don't see how he gets out of the top 10. I don't see it based on who's there.
I say the Raiders. Geno's the gap, the bridging of the gap. That's where Shedeur has always hinted that he wants to go and is going to be. There's a relationship, personal relationship between Tom Brady and Shedeur. Deion and Tom are very, very close as well. I just think it makes a lot of sense because, if there are any doubts, I would say the personal relationship here in this situation would put to bed a lot of maybe the concerns that would be able to circulate throughout the building with the scouts or whoever else it may be that are decision makers that would be put to bed by the endorsement from Tom Brady. That's what I would say.
It makes a lot of sense for the reasons, and even the contract that Geno Smith signed. It's really a 1-year deal. I know it's stated as a 3-year, $75 million deal, but he's got $27.3 guaranteed at signing, and that's essentially what he's going to make this year, and he's got about a total of 40 in the contract, but it's a 1 year and kind of we'll see. So I could very much see that being the case. They've got Geno. They draft a young quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, whoever. So it could make some sense, too, from the relationship standpoint. You'd have to go back and look at Spytek's time in Tampa and really track what they've done because obviously the last 2 quarterbacks have been veterans. Even though they attacked it with Tom Brady and Kyle Trask when they brought in Tom Brady, it ended up being Baker Mayfield after that. They kind of wanted to avoid dipping back into the rookie pool of quarterbacks. So take that for what you will. It does feel like it's going to be hard for Shedeur to slip outside the top 10. As I've said, I'm a lot higher than on a lot of other people on Shedeur than I think others are. I have him and Cam neck and neck. And for the reasons being, I just think he's a very accurate passer, in particular downfield, and the way he can layer throws. Those are all things that are special. So we'll see what team wants to pull the trigger on him. But I'm like everyone else. It's hard to think that with so many teams that need a quarterback, would want a quarterback on a rookie deal, someone's going to pass up on him. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's a curious position to be in, though, because if he doesn't get taken by the Giants, then now you're talking the next team is the Raiders. Unless there's a trade that takes place, you got the Raiders and the Jets at 6 and 7. If he doesn't go 6 or 7, and then you got the Saints at 9, I think 9 is the last opportunity he has before it could be a real slip, a slip and a fall.
What do you think about this scenario? All right, so courtesy of our friends on DraftKings, Tyler Warren to be drafted by the Jets is a plus 180. Jets are sitting at 7. What if the Jets see Shedeur sitting there at 5, know that the Raiders taking him as a potential, and they leapfrog the Raiders with Jacksonville at 5, and then take Shedeur there? And then the
2 years in a row?
Yeah. And
the Raiders get leapfrogged?
Yeah, the Raiders are going to get jumped 2 years in a row because the Jets get aggressive.
Then that would mean maybe the Raiders need to take a little bit of advice or wisdom from what happened to them and maybe make sure they're going to get the jump on the pick if Shedeur is that important to them. Because if you're going to take that risk and say, okay, what teams do need him. I mean, the Giants could very well do it. So you could possibly gauge what the Giants are going to do and kind of build out what you're going to do moving from there if the Giants don't want to trade. Because, again, I do think that that's what took place between the Giants and the Titans. The Giants, I believe, tried to move to number one, and the Titans didn't want to have any parts of it.
Well, there's multiple teams that have probably tried to do that. Right?
Sure.
I mean, when you have the number one pick, I'm sure Cleveland talked to him about it. I'm sure a lot of teams in striking distance talked to him about that. I mean, Breer mentioned as much yesterday.
Anyone who's in need of a quarterback are probably
right.
That's in striking distance.
By the way, did you guys see the report yesterday about who was trying to – the reason why the Minnesota Vikings traded up to take J.J. McCarthy? It wasn't because they were trying to get in front of the Raiders. There was another team who was trying to trade up and take him. It was the L.A. Rams.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think it was Joe Douglas who admitted that it was Sean McVay and the Rams who were trying to trade up to take J.J. McCarthy. You know, Kevin O'Connor got wind of that, and they were able to make the trade that ultimately made it happen. But that's who Sean McVay was looking for. He was looking for his quarterback of the future, and it would have made a lot of sense, too, considering the situation with Matt Stafford. And now even looking in retrospect with the contractual situation, everything that happened this offseason, you know, you'd have to imagine that Stafford probably got wind of maybe some of that leading up into last year.
By the way, how would he get wind of that? Like who would spill the beans?
From Michael Roch. Usually
going home.
Usually, this is how this happens. You become friendly with a lot of people within the organization. And there's some people, too, who are like not fans of maybe what the ultimate decision makers are doing, whether that's, in this case, Les Snead or Sean McVay. And they're willing to divulge, you know, in certain information. And also, there might have been a conversation where they had like, hey, Matt, you're getting up there in age. We want to prepare for life after you. If the right guy's there, we might take a quarterback. Like there's teams that will prepare you for that as well. That's where I think it's interesting that if that played a factor into some of the frustrations or the issues that Matt Stafford felt this offseason with the Rams, maybe knowing that some of that stuff was out there. And also, by the way, there's media personalities who some of these players are friendly with, and they might, you know, have a source and they might have someone inside the facility. It's like, hey, man, just so you know, this will eventually come out. They tried to trade up to take J.J. McCarthy last year.
Yeah. I don't think that stuff is, I think it definitely is distributed through personal lanes. I mean, you get personal lanes distribution all the time. So I wouldn't see that being anything that's kind of out of the normal. But again, I'm going to say this. It could go one way. It could be boom or bust for Shedeur Sanders. That's what I'm going to say. It could be boom or bust. Because if the Raiders don't take him, it could become a real slick slide for Shedeur Sanders in the draft. It's possible. That's all. I mean, and when you look at it and what these teams, you know, with the draft board and who may be there, what their needs are, that could be a slide. If the Raiders don't make that move, that could be bad. That could be bad.
Yeah, because if there's a personal connection there, and even they pass on him, you know, then what does that do? New Orleans is sitting there.
New Orleans is sitting there, and it could be New Orleans. But if it's not New Orleans, that's a slide.
There's already been a, you know, previous relationship that, you know, if Tom Brady's involved, he's passed up on. Just saying. I mean, there was a head coach opening, and they didn't hire Bill Belichick.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
I'm just saying, if he doesn't go 6 or 9, right? It's 6 or 9. Where does he go? Who takes him? You don't get to a team that needs a quarterback until 21, Pittsburgh. That's it. Pittsburgh. Unless you think the Buccaneers might take them at 19. I think the only real one that makes sense outside of the Saints and and the Raiders. I mean, you could really sit there and maybe the Jets, pull a shocker and say, hey, we signed Justin Fields, but maybe Justin Fields is only looked at as a bridge quarterback at this point. Maybe the Jets take him.
I'm just throwing this out there. The Cowboys are sitting at 12.
They're not going to do it.
Okay.
Why would they do that?
Because we need interesting stuff to talk about, so I'm hoping it happens. So I'm going to throw it out there to the universe.
Yeah, I don't see that, but okay.